I'm here with Goodge, recent partner in Headstrong. If you've been following Headstrong for a while now, you'll know that Will joined the brand a little while ago and he's just completed his run across Australia. So I'm going to spend some time with him today, ask the questions that you guys want to know and give you a little bit more insight into what Will's doing currently. Will, how are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good to see you a little bit healthier. Last time.
Yeah, it took me a while to get over that, but it was to be expected, so that's all right.
I want to sort of dive into that journey a little bit today and just wanted to give, the community a chance to ask you questions directly.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been I've had a lot of, DMs and messages and attention around the brand since the run. And I think, although stuff is captured pretty consistently on social media, there's a lot that isn't, you don't see the behind the scenes necessarily, or the real behind the scenes. So I wanted to give people the chance to, really dive into that. So put something on a story, as you'll know, and got plenty of responses.
Sweet ass.
Yeah.
Intrigued to see what they are.
Yeah.
So they're all
Gonna
really
scroll.
nice.
Most of them are, yeah. I'm going to sort of go into the Australia run first,
Yeah.
obviously, and then we'll sort of delve, a little bit further beyond that. Philip wanted to know, what is the post-Transos recovery looking like for you, Will?
Unfortunately, well, there was one time where it was full recovery, but it's been like pretty full blast, full noise since finishing. Because afterwards, it's like a good thing. There's a lot of like press interest, and it's almost like you have to do it whilst it's hot.
Mm.
You have to ride that wave of interest and whatnot. So, as you saw after I finished, it was like I was still riding that wave of being busy all day, like interviews in person, going to studios, one's online, one's on the phone, packing up the vans. Like there was still a lot to do. And then we had a really great opportunity to go to Monaco to the F1, which is like bucket list. So yeah, from Australia, being there for 3 days, taking like 3 flights to get to Nice and then going straight into F1 weekend isn't exactly recovery. And it's fun, but felt like the only reason I was able to do that, even though I wasn't moving well, was because it was just like, there was so much going on. Like my brain was wired to either be talking or be watching a race. But after that, we went to Ischia, which is, I say, that's where my soul lives. We've got really close friends, Byron and Vic. They've got a spot there. I usually go a couple times a year. So once we got there, my body and mind instantly went into, okay, we're done now. You're not fucking around, like doing anything. Interviews kind of went down a bit, and I was just like, look, I don't want to do anything for a week. So I was literally sleeping for like 16 hours a day. I'd sleep all night, and then I'd wake up, and it was like I had no energy to do anything. I'd go down to the pool, have another nap, wake up for lunch, then probably go back to my room, lay down on the bed, fall asleep, go have dinner, hold on for dinner as well, and then go back and do that all over again. So yeah, it was like a week of that, which was needed. But yeah, even now, we were just over 4 weeks finished.
Yeah,
I don't really have any strength. I don't have I haven't ran yet. I don't have the desire to. I'm not saying that I couldn't, but yeah, there's definitely a big down period where, yeah, I'm just resting, recouping, and obviously haven't done America before. It took me 8 months to feel like I could push again.
really?
Yeah, I didn't have like that fifth gear. I could go out for a run and train and stuff, but yeah, it's like all your systems are haywire.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one, and like having done it before, I'm not concerned yet. I haven't had any tests or anything done, which would be good. But yeah, it's just like trying to chill out as much as I can whilst still like living the life that I do.
Yeah, for me, it's sort of, it seemed like you're running on high alert all the time, really, when you're doing that sort of stuff. And although you did America previously, it wasn't quite as intense,
No,
I'd
it
imagine,
wasn't.
in terms of distance. So you're running on endorphins, and that's what I mean. Even after the run was finished, there's the high of that, but it's fairly sustained.
Yeah.
Because of just, 30 odd days of consistent, running on fumes and 4 hours sleep and whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's
It's a lot.
it's an intense period.
Yeah. And it doesn't just switch off like that.
No,
I didn't give
no.
it the best opportunity to, but once I did, it was, yeah, I haven't experienced that before, of like just waking up, falling asleep again, and just that cycle. So it's been interesting.
Hayden asks, what was your highlight of the journey across Australia?
Hayden, as in the town Harden, was the best place for me.
There we go.
It was one of those things, like we saw Farmer Jack, and he very graciously gave me one of the hats from where he was. It's a Nakubra one. It was real classic, and he spoke really eloquently about how in that particular place in New South Wales had had a bad drought, and he said like the people in the town and what he'd seen through what I was doing was like a really good show of resilience, that even outside of what I was doing as like an ultra endurance event can be seen and taken by people as something they can apply to their everyday lives. So that was just like a special conversation and a special gift, and that thing I'll have forever. I absolutely love it. And then like 3 hours later, I was running through the actual town, because we're on the outskirts before, and I'm walking up this hill, and I can hear like chanting. I'm like, that's a bit strange. Get closer, and I can see it's school kids, and then maybe that's a bit less strange. But as I get closer, I'm like, they're saying William. They're definitely saying William, and then the whole like school was outside. I don't know what age groups were, but it must have been like 200 kids, teachers, and yeah, because you realize to a very small percentage of how far it like reaches out. Like you get obviously stuff on social media, and you get messages, and there's some press stuff, but I don't think it would reach like kids in school.
No.
And obviously a lot of it's not PG. So yeah, but it was really cool and really special. So just that little pocket of time was really cool.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there that day,
and no one knew it was happening. You guys were literally like a kilometre apart.
Exactly. Yeah, we weren't there. Yeah, and that's what makes it the best moment, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
What was the hardest moment?
Those first 9 days were horrendous. Obviously day one was fine.
Yeah,
but yeah, the ones after that, not really being able to sleep that well, feeling extremely claustrophobic, locked into something that seemed unimaginable that it would end. Also, like the questions of, if it is this bad, could I continue that past whatever day I was on? Like, can I keep doing this for the 35 days I'd aimed for? So it was quite maddening. But there's always that part of my brain where I'd experienced that before on other runs. So like the quote, "This too shall pass," is something I always like keep in my mind in those tough moments. And I'm like, it will finish. Either it continues for the whole thing and I'm man enough to do it, or at some point it's going to get better. And usually it does start to get better. So
yeah, I suppose it's at that point you're probably faced with the task in hand, and
you know
how grand it is.
Yeah,
and
so far away.
The whole light at the end of the tunnel. It's not really there at that point, is it? It's
no, it's not at all. It's really quite far away. And yeah, when you're getting beaten up on those early days, yeah, it starts to creep in.
Did you find, this is a question just from me, did you find that your body sort of adjusted over time to the volume of the running, and perhaps that first 9 days, which was the worst aside from the first day, was because of that? It's sort of, you can't really train for something like this, can you? You can't. No. You can to a certain extent, but you can't go out there and run 180, 90k a day realistically in training for something like that. So is it sort of the body's reaction?
Yeah, it resists at the start, and so does your mind.
Yeah,
and I've learned through other stuff, especially when I did Land's Land's End, and I like ruptured ligaments in my ankle, and I got to a stop, and I was like, I need to like call it for the day so I can carry on tomorrow. And Robbie was like, no, it's like, you've gone out and you've said you're going to do this thing, and even if you stop now, that could have like terrible effects down the line. So it's like, you just need to keep going. And I was looking at my club foot ankle, just like, you're insane. But like I trusted him, and I had so much admiration for what he did when he ran across the US. I was like, all right, well, I may as well give it a shot. And yeah, there is a fight you have internally and with your body, and if you keep pushing, there comes to a point where I think it just like releases and is like, okay, we're trying to fight this guy or this person that keeps saying we're going to do it, so we may as well try and lean into it.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to oppose every step you're taking.
Yeah. So just to link to that, when the tough times hit during the long run and that part of your mind tells you to stop or to quit, what do you do to get yourself back on track?
Well, quitting's not an option. The simple question I've always asked myself is, can I take another step? And the answer's always yes. No matter how battered and bruised you are, you can still take another step. You haven't injured something enough where you can't do that. So yeah, you just have to repeat that over and over again. And it's not the easiest thing, but we always sell ourselves short. It's like the David Goggins 40% rule. You're only 40% done when you think you've maxed out. So I think as human beings, we need to give ourselves more credit of what we are actually capable of. And there's always going to be that blockade because the mind is always going to try and work against what I call your truth. And the truth is the very quiet voice in your head that even in everyday decisions, like should I eat something healthy for breakfast or should I have a full English? You know what the truth is, right? You know what the right decision is. But the truth is quiet and the mind is quite egotistical and wants to rule the roost. And that's the thing that's telling you can't do something or you should stop. But the truth knows you can carry on going. So you need to champion that quieter voice. And the more you practice that, the more you learn about yourself and the more that truth voice can take control rather than the egotistical mind.
And is that something that can be trained?
Yeah, it has
or
to be.
Can it only be trained through, doing stuff like this, for example? You have to get to a certain point to, reach that battle, I think, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But it is, like I say, in those everyday decisions and even on easier stuff, it's there. But when you're really in the battle and when it is the hardest times, and that's when that muscle needs to be flexed the hardest. So it can really only be learnt during the really, really hard stuff. But as I say, in everyday decisions, it can be too.
Yeah. This is a great question. Love this question. What makes the dream crew? What are the roles and responsibilities?
What makes a dream crew? The dream crew is trust, first and foremost. You have to trust them on a whole lot of stuff because they basically need to remove any decision from your brain other than moving. The simpler it can be for you as the athlete of just moving and knowing everything's kind of sorted out. Yeah, decision fatigue can play a big thing in these endurance events or even like races and whatever else. So trusting the crew and knowing when you're getting in to see them that things are going to be there. Everything's taken care of. That's absolute number one. Because in these things you are a very heightened state and you can be overly stressed. There's a lot going on and little things can build up to big things for no reason at all. So yeah, having that trust in them in the initial phase is like I said with Jason, who was our lead crew, like former military guy, who was a Marine, like that kind of personality is great to have because it's mission orientated. It's like I've given someone a task and they're going to do anything to make sure it happens. So having that beforehand is major. So yeah, so trust is the biggest thing.
Yeah, multitasking also.
Everyone does everything.
Yeah.
So while they have their specific roles, like everyone mucks in. Like even Diego, who was
I was going to say
like head content or whatever, doing all the edit,
hardest working guy.
Yeah, and then he's making me like sick rice steak bowls. Yeah. So yeah, it's lucky to find those kind of people because they basically have to put you first on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question from Luke. How's Will a mediocre runner with a high heart rate in races? but a top class when nobody's watching?
Great question, Luke. Great question. To put it quite simply, when you're in a race, you're pushing because you're trying to get there as quickly as possible. Even if it's like a 100-mile race or like Moab 240, there's an element of I need to get there as quickly as possible. Whereas when you're doing a big multi-day challenge like I'm doing, I'm averaging like 7 minutes 30 per K. And as anyone that runs of any level, I think you can understand when you go out and you're running a 7-minute K or 7:30, it's incredibly easy. Like I'd say most people's like easy runs or base training, or when you're trying to do stuff that's conversational pace, I think you'll probably be in the 6s. Some people will even still be in the 5s. So to be efficient and be able to run for a month straight, firstly, it'd be a really bad idea to try and race that or try and push Ks that are even faster than 6, because you're going to run out of steam. And the other part of that is you actually can't, because your legs and feet and everything else is so bad. Like your body won't allow you to run that fast. So yeah, that's I think that's as short as I can make that answer without going too deep. But
Yeah.
to me, it's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah.
To put it plainly. But yeah, there's always going to be those kind of questions, and it's fine. And we try and do everything we can. Every time we've done it, there's been, to be fair, when I first started doing it, there wasn't really anyone saying anything about it. And then the further you go along and obviously your career gets better, that's when these things start to creep in. So we do try and put as much data out there, do the tracking stuff as well. But these questions are always going to come. So
yeah, I do have a few things to add there. Actually, I've just pulled up some data from one of my runs. We ran a half marathon together.
Yeah,
about 23k, and we ran it at an 8-minute per kilometer pace.
Slow as
I'm not going to watch on, but I was tracking that on a Garmin, and my heart rate was only 110 BPM throughout that half marathon. I mean, I'm far from the athlete that you are. I run regularly, but that's not a crazy high heart rate.
No, it's not.
Like you said, we were having conversations throughout that and fluctuations in heart rate when you're doing that. But, a pace like 8 minutes per kilometer, it's a plod, it's a steady pace, isn't it, really? I think there's also a bit of a misconception around the idea that there's nobody watching, which is like, I was there for 6 days, and granted, that was towards the end of the run, but, there's hundreds of people driving past you or
loads
coming past you all the time. There was days where people were at every single stop waiting for you because they'd driven past you. This whole idea that nobody's watching isn't really the case. There's people watching all the time. Just because someone doesn't comment on a Strava post doesn't mean they weren't there.
Yeah, I don't know how many, I don't know if you could do the math or try and figure it out anyway, but you go past thousands and thousands and thousands of cars and people.
Exactly.
Even in like the Nullarbor, where there's a whole lot of nothing, there's always cars going past. It's not like a day where you don't actually see people. But also, we don't try and flag down a random driver and go, oh, can you just wait here a minute and like film this guy or say that you saw him? Like, the crew and myself have got basically at capacity every day, just trying to make sure we can get to the distance. So like I say, you try and do as much as you can, but there gets to a point of, why are we trying to overprove or give everyone the answer to everything when we're out there doing it? And I'm quite stubborn on that fact as well. It's like, we've done everything we could. It was come and see me if you want to. We had the tracker on me at all times. Like, what more do you want other than you don't believe it because you can't do it and you've never tried anything similar? So, fuck off, basically.
Good way to.
Yeah. Good stats, by the way.
Yeah, I was, I looked at my own data. I was interested. Having done some of the running with you, I was interested. And like I said, I'm a decent runner, but I'm far from a runner of your caliber. And even my heart rate was, pretty low.
That's sensible, because that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. This is perfect, though. Are you getting a tattoo in honor of the record?
I got it yesterday, actually.
You're going to have to get it out.
Yeah, we'll get it out. So, I was trying to think what it could be because obviously it needs to somewhat be aligned. So I got the American one is like is broken like that. So it's the route of LA to New York, and because you're mainly running on tarmac, I thought when you're running on tarmac, it's not perfect. There's like little cracks in it, and to talk about the journey as a whole, it was something that tried to break me but didn't totally. So you see those little cracks. So I needed something like a line. Obviously, there's snakes in Australia. I saw a bunch of dead ones, but I only saw one alive one, which was in southern Australia, and it was a blue-bellied black snake, and it slithered off real quick. But you know, it was cool to see one. It was probably 1.5 meters long or whatever. So when I was thinking of what I could get, a snake seemed like a good idea. And I wanted to make it more like Australia. So I was looking at the flag. Obviously, there's the Southern Cross. So I did get a blue-bellied black snake of the route. And in the head, there's actually the stars of the Southern Cross. Because I wouldn't really get like star tattoos, but to put it as part of something was quite cool. So it basically wraps around from my lower back and yeah, just comes all the way up. And that's the route. This is the Southern Australia bit where we had to go up to Port Augusta and then go back down before we came across Southern Australia and New South Wales. But yeah, got quite the library of shit I've done. Yeah, so that's it.
But equally, I think that's for me anyway. You know, I don't have a want or two, but I think, you know, that's the perfect time to get a tattoo.
Yeah,
is, you know, to symbolize something that was a huge moment in your life, and
yeah,
I think, you know, you've had more than most. Let's say,
yeah. My body's turned into a map
experience. So, but you got the Japan one as well, obviously.
Yeah, I got the Japan. I got the UK one. John O'Groats to Land's End as an English rose. I've got Lake Como on my head. I think it's that size, that side. First time I did 100 miles. Yeah, it's cool, like, because it's not that individual now. Like, more people have tattoos than don't. And sure, I've got some, like, everyone has a meaning to me. That one's for all my runs in the desert, but also like Moab. It's a scorpion, so it's an ode to the desert. Lavender is obviously the first one I ever got because it reminds me of my mum, and I used to put a stick of lavender in my watch when I was running to remind me of her. That's for my brother. 2 crosses. There's 4 of us in the family, like always connected. Got my dad's initials, GG. It's like a sleeping angel. I feel like I've got an angel on my side since I lost my mum, so that's that one. Ouroboros, essential. It's like rebirth and destruction. That's a snake that's eating itself. That's something I like, and I can't remember what else I got, but yeah.
Nice. We're going to move a little bit away from Australia questions onto more general questions that people want to know. Do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome? And if so, how do you overcome it?
Yeah, I used to quite a lot, but that was actually at a time in my life when people thought my life looked really great and I must be doing really well, and I wasn't. So this was actually a period where I think I was coming towards like the end of my rugby career. I was semi-professional, so it still wasn't like brilliant, but people saw me as this like professional athlete, and I was doing some modeling at the time, and my girlfriend at the time was in LA, so I'd constantly be hopping around from being in like London to LA to New York, and I was also racking up quite a significant amount of debt trying to live that lifestyle, even though I couldn't. And I'd get home to like my small town in Ampthill, and I'd be at the pub or whatever, and people would be like, "Oh, you're doing so well, like things must be going amazing. Saw you do this shoot. You're in LA doing all this stuff," and I was like, yeah, I'm having some fun here and there, but it's like it's eating me up quite a lot. And the fact that you think it's great, and I know that it's not that great all the time, and stressful is tough. So there was that period, but then that's also kind of coincided with doing the ultra running stuff. And one of the best things I get from that is I have a huge ability to suffer and kind of smile through it and laugh at it sometimes. And that to me is like a superpower in its own right. So you can see these people that are super successful, intelligent, might have an amazing job, all of those things that are attainable. But what those people can't attain is the feeling I have when I've crossed that barrier of achieving something new in that space, or getting to a point where it's really, really fucking tough and I carry on anyway. That to me is like that's to me is a superpower of I've only got here because I've worked so hard doing something not that fun for a long period of time. So now kind of when I go into any room, I have a lot of self-confidence in me and my ability to do the most probably normal thing on the planet, but I'm really good at suffering. And I think like if shit hit the fan right now in any situation, I'm probably going to be okay. And the other thing about like that culture of being around impressive people or celebrities or whatever, I've always seen people as a human first. And whilst I kind of get attention now wherever I go, I've always felt sorry for people that have that. And mine's on a very low scale, but I like to take a person for who they are. And the last thing I want to do is like interrupt someone eating a meal to try and get a photo with them because it's, I don't know, like in Justin Bieber or whatever. I feel sorry for those celebrities because it's hard. It's like unescapable.
Yeah. And I think coming back to the suffering thing, I think I've had a few comments from people since coming back just regarding you saying, he makes it look so easy and all this sort of stuff. And I think you hide it very well because it's anything but easy doing, especially, doing stuff like running across Australia. It's tough shit for 35 days. It's like non-stop hard shit, but it's, and like I said, I think you, you hide it pretty well, or you keep it inside anyway.
Yeah.
You don't let it come out.
Nah, for me, it's a pointless exercise, like complaining. And if anything, it's almost then an excuse to perform at a lesser standard. If I'm coming in, and also like energy exchange for me is everything. Like even in some of the early days with the crew, I'd come in and it wasn't like buzzing. There was no music playing. So then at one point I was like, when I come in, like even if everyone's not buzzing, can some music like be on?
Yeah.
And can you be like playing some games or fucking throwing a ball around? Like I don't care. But if I see you lot having a good time, and I love music anyway, or coming in, like all my stuff's going to be there anyway. If I see people having a good time, that like feeds me really well. Whereas if I come in and it's like quiet and people are like walking on eggshells, then that can affect me. So I also don't want to, what's the word? Push that negativity out on other people because I don't think it doesn't help anyone in any situation. So yeah, whether I hide it or I just, have a fight inside my own brain all the time of not letting it out, like that's just who I am and who I've always been.
Yeah.
Don't like a sob story. Oh my God, this is so hard. Wow. Shut up and fucking carry on.
What is the most meaningful thing you've heard or read that helps you stay focused?
The most meaningful thing I've heard or read. I mean, like I said earlier, that one quote of "This too shall pass," I think just helps me in life in general, because it's a really good grounding technique, and almost like it makes you super present. So this too shall pass, whether it is the most horrific situation, it's hard, you're out running, whatever, it's the last 6 miles of a marathon, there is an end point to your suffering and it's going to get better. However long that period is, a period of loss, like time's the best healer. Like there's always going to be ups and downs, but whatever your mood is in any situation, it's going to get to an end point where it's going to get better. And then likewise, when things are really good, it makes you understand that they're not going to be that good forever. So be present in it and like extract every bit of goodness from it you can. So that one for me is just something I try and live by. And yeah, it makes you present. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but that's one I really like.
I mean, there's always going to be shit times and you have to
Oh,
ride
right.
that wave, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
That's
And it's
yeah,
it's the same for everyone. Like
exactly.
whether you're at the very top of, like you see like the people in the highest points of society struggling, and you can't understand why if you're on the breadline, like just trying to make it worse, trying to make it work, like getting through your month, like on your paycheck. Like that's what I used to be like. I'd be hoping and praying I got a job in,
Yeah.
or else I'd be getting like another loan. And then you look at the other end of the spectrum of the super elite, and you're like, how can you be sad about anything? Like you've got everything presented to you, but like the human condition is we all have similar or the same experiences, just in different ways.
Yeah, it's all relative.
Yeah,
yeah. There's problems at every level.
there are.
I think this question is perhaps more for me, but I mean, with you moving into business,
Yeah.
it's still applicable. Top business lessons you took being around some of the UK's most successful entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, UK and international, but I've been lucky enough in short time I've been in business to speak to quite a few successful people. And one thing I've realized is that, everyone lives their own lives and they have experiences throughout that form their opinions. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to be fairly set or have a good understanding of where you're going to take something.
Yeah.
Because it's great to listen to these people and learn from these people, but perhaps don't take everything as gospel.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, everyone has their own experiences, and it shapes their opinions. So, yeah, you have to be, keep open-minded.
Yeah.
Keep open-minded, but equally, it's you should be strong on the vision.
Yeah, and I also think it's when it's your business, it's your idea. So even if someone tells you or shows you a different way, it's very important to keep hold of your own ideals. It's always great to listen, and these people have been there and done that, but also the game of business is eternally changing, and so is the game of life. So there is no 10-step box ticking exercise to get from A to C or A to Z, whatever you want to look across like the business landscape. So yeah, there's an element of juggling the advice you get told, but also going with your gut. And one of the main things I've learned through even like a lot of it you get through like the pitfalls of stuff. So even with like Riskier now and with Headstrong with you, making sure you keep as much equity as you can has been a big one for me. You can get all these offers of like big money coming in, but to what end? You're obviously giving away a large part of yourself to someone else, and there has to be that trust element there that they're going to give you what they've said they would, which most of the time they won't. Do you go for someone that's just going to inject a load of cash and then you're like, what the hell do I do with it? Or you're going to go with someone that's going to give you less but has all these contacts? So yeah, everything's constantly up in the air, but if you can do it your own way and keep it sustainable and never get into, well, not never, but don't lean too much into the corporate side of things too quickly where there's a marketing budget that you have to spend. Like, why don't you keep the process more like this rather than trying to go like that and you overshoot and you're not actually profitable, but you're playing for your stake in the market? Like it's really tough. But from the question, having like that community of people that are like genuinely friends first, but have all these big businesses around you, like having those people to fall back on and ask questions is more valuable than actual cash investment is sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think there's no right answer, and what works for one business won't exactly, work for another. And funnily enough, I've had 2 conversations literally within the past few weeks with 2 very, very successful entrepreneurs. And one told me to go heavy into retail, and one told me to not do retail at all.
Yeah.
And they were both in,
How long is a piece of string?
Exactly. And that's, comes back to my point that I think you have to have a good idea of where you want to take it, really, because everyone's going to tell you differing things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you please explain what good nutrition looks like in simple terms?
Whole foods are king.
I'd agree.
Natural, less refined the better.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can simplify it anymore. But the world has gone the opposite way to how it used to be. And we look at the blue zones of where people are staying or have longevity, the people that are staying alive the longest, not getting disease. And they're all the kinds of places where they eat a lot less refined foods and less messed with up foods. They're eating meat, fish, vegetables, not eating too much. Well, some of them are eating pasta, but it's like 3 ingredients. So you see the US where they have all these health problems and rack up massive amounts of debt. It's because they're eating absolute trash food. They don't have the same, rules as the EU have. But even here where we are, like, you can easily go down the trap of just going and buying Oreos and all this other crap. Like, the simpler the better.
Yeah. It's not about, for me at least, it's not about having less. It's about having better quality.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to fats, people avoid fats like the plague.
Yeah.
Whereas it really shouldn't be the case. Fats are an essential part to a diet. It's just having better quality fats.
Yeah.
Agreeing. And I see these people using, whether it be, your cooking sprays or your, margarines and these Benecol.
Throw them in the bin.
God, it's like, you look at the back of the packet and it's got a list of ingredients this long and you don't know how to pronounce half of it.
Yeah.
And it's, olive oil is just the answer to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you saw these ingredients in their original forms, you would not consume them because it would be like some weird powder or something. It would not be good. So eat real stuff.
Yeah, agreed. So in terms of the diet in Australia, just to, go off a bit of a tangent there, how does that align with, what you've spoken? Terms of...
It aligns and it also contradicts.
Yeah.
But also in that situation of trying to get the most out of myself and it being a short-ish period of time, there's no way I would eat and live like that in a normal day. So sometimes you have to do certain things, but first thing I'd eat is a bowl of Cocoa Pops or something similar. So not ideal, but I like to start a run feeling light. I don't like to feel like I've overeaten or been bulky. So coffee and a bowl of cereal of any description. And then at the first stop we'd call it a superfood smoothie. So packed full of fruits, vegetables. If I could have some superfood powders in it, like chlorella, spirulina, that kind of thing, it would help. And then we'd also add a protein powder, but a whey one, and like a nut butter or something similar. Anything we can do to pack it out and add a lot of calories. So that smoothie was over 1,000 calories. And I would consume it all in one go. And then we'd get to the next stop. So I'd see the crew over 11K. So generally there were 9 stops along the way. Second stop was the smoothie. The third one would be a breakfast sandwich. So bacon, egg, avocado, cheese, and then some like toasted bread. And then the stop after that would be like a granola bowl. So we'd have some yogurt in that, a little bit of milk, granola, fresh fruit, some honey on top. And then from there on, it was always like protein, carbs, fats, as much as we could in everything. So I'd have like a steak rice bowl with avocado. So we're trying to tick off all those things at the same time. And the reason for the smoothie earlier as well is so we can pack out as much micronutrients as we can. And then we're just hitting hard for the rest of the day. Yeah, like I say, carbs, fats, protein. And I wasn't avoiding things like Krispy Kreme donuts. Like I could easily charge through 3 of those. But there's a balancing act that you do with like refined sugar and caffeine. When you're doing something like this, or even an ultra marathon, even a marathon itself, because they're 2.5, 3, 4, up to whatever, an entire day of being out there, sugar and caffeine has a really beautiful cycle of going up like that and then down like that. There is a crash that is associated with hitting them too hard. Whereas if you can implement them slightly along the way, it's going to be more like a wave. So the only time I would feel like I would get into anything like candy or sweets or just like straight chocolate was that penultimate stop. because I knew I was going to have a big meal when I finished. I didn't want to consume any more food because I'm at basically my wit's end of consuming foods. Up to like 7,000 calories a day is really hard. So that's when I'd hit that sugar that would take me through that to that last stop, and then I'd have a decent meal, a healthy one. Like I say, steak and roasted vegetables was like something we were hitting a lot of the time, and then go to sleep. So yeah, it's fun trying to fit in 7,000-8,000 calories in a day.
This is an interesting question from Rachel. We are all running from something. I believe that's a quote of yours. Is it? Did you say that?
I've probably said it at some point.
We are all running from something. What is it? Do you think running makes it better?
I think running makes a lot of things better because there's very few opportunities in life where you get to have your entire own space, where you're not being distracted by anything. No one's calling you. Maybe they are, but I think it's so important that, and as a human species, we've lost like detachment from being needed or being switched on to something. There's a notification in our head going on all the time. And running for me has allowed me space to just be free with thoughts. They can come and go as they please. And whatever I've been going through, whenever I've finished a run, I always feel better than I did when I started. There's very few times, unless I'm in a race and it doesn't go well, that I finish a run and I'm like, why did I do that? Like, it doesn't happen. So it's been incredibly important to me. What am I running from? I mean, I'm running from that buzz. Like, I'm running for my own free space. And like, I don't run with many people. On the Australia run, I do the first half on my own. Like, that's something I value very highly, being able to do that. So yeah, I think that answers it.
This is one for the both of us. What makes you both choose certain partnerships? How did you know you were a good fit? I could start on this because this is something that I mentioned to you before, and I actually got some little photos. I've got photos to share, which I'll put up on the screen. So when I was, before Headstrong had even launched, I was building this in my university bedroom in Newcastle. I was 21 years old. I'd literally sit at my laptop at my desk. I've got a photo to share. That was my room in Newcastle.
Sick. Yeah, that looks like university coming up.
I lived like a monk.
Yeah.
Like I had like no possessions. Just a mirror and a pair of shoes. And I'd sit there for like 14 hours a day, literally at my laptop, working on Headstrong, planning everything out. And on one of those nights, I always knew with Headstrong I wanted to tell the stories of, people doing really cool shit, really. And, to align them with the brand. And I was sat there one of those nights and I decided I wanted to write a list of people who I wanted to tell the stories of. And you were the first name that I put down on that list. And that was, that was a while ago now. That was a good, 3-4 years ago. And so when we connected, it already felt right for me because it felt, almost destined, because it'd been something that I'd been planning at least for, years prior to that, and years before you knowing about me or the brand. It had sort of, finally come to fruition for me, really.
Well, that's very cool. I have a list of whatever 7-8 billion people on the planet who do jokes. Fact, it's me is, yeah, it's cool. It's kind of hard to take, but at the same time, yeah, it's very cool. For me, like, I'm 31 now, and the world is full of bullshit, shall I say, if I can be frank and honest with it. And I'm not here trying to work with brands that I don't align with or businesses I don't align with. Like, I'm past that point of even considering that. I've always had something in my mind where my morality has always been sometimes maybe too strong. I refuse to be able to climb some kind of social or business ladder by doing something I don't agree with or I'm not totally into. So when we had those initial conversations and having my own experience with natural mushrooms and how beautiful and beneficial they've been to my life, and seeing a young guy that was hungry, and like the whole thing we were talking about, like a crew.
Yeah.
Trust is like the main thing. Like, I can see it in you that this is your thing and you're going to make it happen. So naturally you have a product that attaches to that. It's as good as it can be at any one time and is only going to get better. So for me, it's very easy for me to fit myself into what you're doing already. Be an advocate. It's totally lines up with what I'm doing anyway. And it's exciting, right? You're at the early stage of this being a thing. We're talking about product development. It's a beautiful time to get into something, and it gives me a lot outside of just the excitement of like building a business and what that can mean, whatever financial, whatever. Like, to me, it's a bit of a game.
Yeah.
But a game in a good way. Life to me is a game.
It's all a game.
And yes, it comes with other things that come off of it, but being able to build something and being from a somewhat ground level first it just kind of gets me going a bit.
Nice.
So yeah, like number one is trusting you and wanting to be in business with you, and then just products being really high quality and actually beneficial. Yeah.
Nice.
Class.
Final question from me. What is most important for Will Goodge right now?
Right now, I think it's just being authentic in everything I do. There's times in earlier life where you kind of shy away or hide things, whether it's feelings or things you do, because you feel like it might have an adverse effect on how you're perceived or how your life is going to go. But the more you can take off a mask of trying to pretend or say the right thing, the more free you feel. So it's been an interesting journey for me, because I feel like I've found more success the more I've leaned into who I actually am, rather than listening to what the world or what particular people say I should be doing or should be focusing on. So yeah, authenticity and just continuing to like squeeze the most out of life. The whole thing of losing my mum has made me super aware of that life is finite, it can end at any time. And it's I can't believe like the position I find myself in today comparatively to 7.5 years ago when she passed. So I will continue to like lean into it, make the most of it, chase experiences, maybe sleep less sometimes so I can I'm juggling a lot of things, and I'm still loving it, and there's still so much to see and so much to do.
Nice. Thank you, man.
Thanks, mate.